Hi, how are you? So. I came back here.
Okay.
Yes, you are live.
Thank you very much. I see colleagues, welcome to those that are here now. But I see that we are few at the moment, and I'm just gonna maybe give ourselves another 5 minutes just to wait, and then we can start. The rest of the guys will join us on the way. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Morning. Good day.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How's Mr. President?
I'm good. How are you, Mohammed?
I can see you. I can see. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Good afternoon, Charles.
Good afternoon, Hank. Good afternoon, Hank. Good afternoon, Prof.
Hi, good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Hello, councillors. You know that you are live, ne? You are live. There are 101 attendees who are watching you.
How is it? Okay.
You can start discussing. There are 101 people who are listening to you right now.
Yeah. As I said, we will just wait for 5 minutes. There's 3 minutes to go, and then we can start. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Good. I'll have my tea in the meantime.
Okay. You're welcome.
Enjoy.
So the people who are watching, how have they logged in?
They are your audience.
Pardon?
They are your audience. They did not log in. We sent them a link.
Okay, so how does one become an audience?
So here is a panelist. So panelists, you are 11 of you, and we send a link outside so that people who want to follow the discussion can listen to you or hear or watch you there. So we do have got audience outside, like who are watching from the TV, part of it. They are actually hearing what I'm saying right now.
So what I just don't understand, from our regional VAs, I'm getting a note here that some of the regional presidents have not been invited yet, have not received the link. As VAs of is there maybe an issue?
I have got a list. The list that I have, I've got 11 that I do have here. Let me start. I have got from South Africa Institute of Architects, Dr. Luyando, Saya, Mr. Jacobos, Cape Institute of Architecture, Mr. Hanken. Please forgive my pronunciation. From Saya Eastern Cape, Mr. Charles Lua, Saya Free State, Okay, let me assist Mr. Kelvin there. Then Saya Free State, Gauteng Institute of Architecture, Saya KZN, Victoria Institute of Architecture, South Africa Institute of Architectural Technologies, Institute of Interior Design, and South Africa, yes. Institute of Drafting. Then Institute of Drafting again. That is the list that I have.
Yeah, okay. So,
Okay,
so basically, the invitees are 11, right?
Yes.
And the others can listen in only if they're not.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying I'm talking to my member regions and trying to assist them as best as I can. But some are supposed to be on the panel, but they didn't get the invitation.
The invite. Okay, Monete, can you, those that do not have invite, can they, you know, if you can tell us the under who are those, so that Monete can resend those invites.
Because I had sent my list to Brenda, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. So according to her, she's saying it was shared with all presidents. So let me just ask them to maybe check their mails. I don't know what's going on.
Yes, yeah.
What you can do, they can send Tokoso, then you can give me their names and I can add them as fast as I can.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Colleagues, I think can we start now?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I just thank you very much, colleagues, for accepting this invite in today's webinar. This is the beginning of a forum or forums that will be happening in the future. I think by doing this is to try and attempt one voice from the architectural profession. And I know that we have been limited by COVID-19, and it is very difficult for us to do things or to live life as normal as we used to be. But now, because of this, I think it has become a norm to communicate in this manner. But in those words, I want to thank and welcome all of you to join in this webinar. This webinar is about the impact of COVID-19 to the architectural profession. And at the beginning, we wanted to open it up, so that we can have anything to discuss around the issue of COVID-19, but we decided to throw some questions around, but these questions that we're throwing around are not limited. So you can come up, you can add, to the discussion. And we have this until 4 o'clock. We have 2 hours. And I know in 2 hours, sometimes we won't be able to discuss everything that we want to. But I think the idea, this is the beginning, this is the start of interaction going forward, in the architectural profession. I think you are more than welcome to bring other topics that we can discuss. This is the forum that we must decide on the intervals when we should, have this kind of conversation again. I think in these trying times, we need to really, find a way to talk to each other, find a way to assist each other, so that we can actually speak with one voice as the architectural profession. There are challenges out there, and I think the sooner we close our ranks, we speak with one voice, the better. So I'm just gonna, I don't know, maybe I should share my screen with the questions that we prepared. You can just bear with me. I'm going to share my screen here. Lots of things that I hope I'm not going to switch myself off, because it's just lots of okay. Yeah, these computers are getting older now. I think everyone is online, so it's going to take a while to open up. Right. Yes, these are the questions that we are just putting forward. I think, or maybe just start before we even start. Whoever is available here, maybe let us just introduce ourselves, and then we can fix that. I'm Charles Smith, the president of SACAP. Yeah.
I'm Tanya van Zyl, president of SAIA Free State.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Henk Lawrence. I'm the president of the Cape Institute for Architecture.
I'm Charles Lowe, president SAIC.
I was muted. Luyanda Mpahla, president of the South African Institute of Architects.
Mohammed Muhyiddin, president of SAID. Thank you. And good day, everybody.
All right. We can hear that. I think some connections there are problems with some of the connections here. But if you are not talking, just please mute your mic. Is everyone introducing him or herself?
Okay, I'm Des Loepscher from the African Institute of Interior Design Professions.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Linka Strominger from the South African Institute of the Architectural Technologies.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I think let's continue, colleagues. Yeah, I think one of the questions that was prepared or we prepared was how has the work of your VAs been impacted by COVID-19 in terms of communication, employees, membership, revenue, CPT, etc. So you can just start the discussion there on that point. We have 20 minutes in each point. I'll open up the floor to everyone just to discuss.
I'll start from a SAIA perspective. And firstly, to welcome the opportunity to participate with colleagues as we are facing the virtual reality now of having to communicate remotely. It's great that we can use this opportunity also to communicate to the membership out there who are currently listening in. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to be open and transparent to everyone. Now, it's just a pity that we won't be able to answer to all the questions because, you know, we received the agenda just a few minutes ago or an hour ago. And maybe we should improve those things because it's important that when we come to this meeting, we should be ready. I requested an agenda a week ago or when I got notified. So I hope we will improve so that we can prepare properly. Insofar as the impact of the COVID-19, obviously, I'll talk now about the national office, where we have had to relocate all the staff to work remotely, as everyone is doing. Obviously, it will have an impact because SAIA addresses member queries on various issues. Obviously, there's limited activity happening on sites and on projects, so maybe the queries are not that much, but we've had to relay everything remotely. So we've continued operating as SAIA. Our officials, the office bearers, both at MENCOM level, but also at board level, we've been having virtual communication, webinars like this, Zoom meetings, to ensure that we continue with the business of the organization. Obviously, our employees are working and giving the support that is needed for those meetings to happen. We've been communicating with our membership via news flashes and other platforms. It might not be sufficient, but we've done our best to make sure that we inform the membership of even the government relief program that the government has announced. We do have a challenge of how these can be accessed, but that's another discussion. But all that information was compiled as received from SACAP and other bodies, and we've to communicate to the membership as best as we could. In terms of revenue, we anticipate there's going to be an impact because most of our members' projects have been stopped, have been put on hold. So we do anticipate that there's going to be an impact on the membership. CPD courses, I'm not sure that, you know, we're able to sustain these over a long period. But I think as we are getting used to the lockdown situation, we'll be able to undertake these online, so to speak. I must mention that one of the SAIA programs that has been going on for some time, Open Architecture, which has been an online teaching and learning program, is actually becoming more relevant now. And we are actually ramping up to try and support open architecture so that learning online becomes more real. We started this as one of SACAP's programs. Now it's actually becoming quite relevant. So we hope that we can get going and get the support that is needed. So, I mean, the VA is going to be affected quite a lot, but those are just introductory words that we've not stopped operating. I don't think we are obviously well jacked up to operate online as we are compelled to. And we do foresee there's a drop in revenue, but we can't quantify it at this point.
Thank you very much, President Leander. Thank you. We appreciate your contribution. Yeah, it is very clear that the COVID-19 has impacted our operations severely. Any other?
I would like to venture, if I may.
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Bob.
First of all, can I just ask, I think that from what I can see on the chat, we've got a lot of background interference. If anybody's not speaking, can they mute their mics, because we're picking up a lot of stuff in the background.
Yes.
But I'd like to just say that from an interior design perspective, our industry and the exhibition design industry and everything else that we're involved in, with whether it be corporate interiors, domestic, is completely locked down, and there are a lot of problems. We've actually been proactive in sending out communication on labor laws from the unemployment fund, etc., to our members, so that they actually have a handle on what's going on. We've also looked at the possibility of retrenchment, and we've tried to actually also use the law in that aspect to say to them, you know, guys, we really have to work together in this. And then on the other side, we've been very proactive in actually getting our social media out there to tell people, or to tell our members, the problems that we are experiencing, the problems that they're experiencing, and asking them to make a much bigger social presence on the media, especially from our website, where they have an opportunity to showcase themselves and to actually change the way they do business, because it's never going to be the same again. And to actually look at possible ways of doing online interviews with clients and giving them guidelines as to how that has changed and what we need to do. And also the health and safety regulations that are going to be put in place, which are actually... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, there is an interference there.
Okay, the regulations that have been in place for occupational health and safety, so that when we come out of lockdown, there are going to be very strict rules as to how we can operate, and we need to look at the sanitation, the health situation that we need, social distancing in the workplace, how we arrive at our building, how we're going to be sanitized, the screening that must take place, etc. So I think we've got to try and be more proactive in our responses, and in a sense, hopefully we can come out of this and we'll still have a few people that are involved in the industry, because it has been really, really tough. I know, as an example, in the exhibition industry, which has 80 major companies working in, they have absolutely no work. It's gone. So how do we address that? We've got to get into a virtual world, and exhibitions will never be the same again. The big exhibitions, even the things that we do for travel, for whatever it might be, those are going to change. The South African Innovation Summit, which is happening, which usually attracts over 5,000 visitors from around the continent, it's gone virtual. So it will never be the same. I don't think travel is going to be the same. So it's a difficult thing, but I think that requires a separate discussion from all of us to actually look at how we're going to cope with these problems. And yeah, I can go on and on, but I'm sorry. I know we've only got...
Thank you very much, Prof. I appreciate that. Yeah, like is there any support? Let's move on to the next one. Is there any support? What type of support do you require now and post-lockdown? Yeah, if we can probably just touch base on that. Now we are left with about 10 minutes on this point. Is there any support, kind of support?
Okay, I'll venture into that. I think that the most important thing for the membership and for us representing members is to be able to receive information that helps us to, one, understand what relief packages are available. Because one thing is clear, our industry is in distress, and it didn't start only with COVID-19, but it started before. So, I mean, as a VA representing members who is, one of the things that we would like to do is to facilitate a process whereby such assistance is made clear to membership. How can people, access? Our members abroad, you've got large companies, you've got largely one man, one woman band practices. Some are not really employers, but are themselves self-employed. So to access the relief programs is a problem. Clarity needs to be provided on that. We would like that there should be a plan of action in terms of how to resuscitate the industry. And SACAP being our regulator and also being in the ambit of CBE, we need to understand how we can coordinate the activities within the built environment so that we can really start improving the conditions. One of the issues is, for example, that government is known to pay very late, and the reason why most practices are in distress is because of long outstanding payments that are delayed, that don't come. So if there were to be a commitment by government that the work that has been done must be paid for, and then on the other hand, open new opportunities for people to get access to work, that would be another issue. So there has to be a kind of a plan of action that seeks to address the crisis and the distress in a very, very clear way. Lines of communication with public works, we assume are via SACAP, via CBE, but we need to get that sense of direct communication, or what structures are there to enable such communication. So the industry is facing collapse. There's no question about that. And if nothing is done, there's going to be no relaxation or resumption on all the risk strategies that will take place. There will be no industry to go back to. So I think that the kind of support is really to get members to have a sense that there is still opportunity for people to access work in a transparent manner, and there has to be a rethink of the processes that are currently underway. The other way we can be supported, as the levels are being announced by government. You will recall, and if you read all the documentation, there's no real direct reference to professional bodies. It just says all professionals. Now, you actually not sure, am I part of this, am I not? The building industry is just looked at in a kind of a global kind of perspective in terms of the construction industry. But the professionals themselves are just like a subsection. And there's no direct reference to say, as professionals, you are able to work or not, whether you support level 4 activities or not. So there is a bit of ambivalence, which makes it very difficult for members to know where they actually stand. The last point I'd like to make is, as a president of SIA, I've been participating in construction industry task force, and SACAP is informed of this because I've briefed the president on all those activities. It's a broad stakeholder body that has got contractors, suppliers, business associations. VAs are represented there, and I represent SIA. And we're trying to galvanize the industry to work together. So this is one of the things we've done as part of the COVID-19. And some of the things I'm mentioning about issues of procurement have been addressed via the task team to government. But again, the feedback about whether these things are being taken into account is not clear. So we really think that there has to be a stronger communication with government and to indicate to us how can that communication be devolved down so membership can be properly informed about the opportunities that are there. But the main thing is that this needs to be a coordinated activity, and we as SAIA are very much willing and ready to play our part to assist in that communication so that we can convey the message to our members.
Yes. No, thank you very much, President Leander. We are now left with about a few minutes. I'd love to wrap. Yes, Martin.
Mr. President.
Yes, you can call. We can talk. We only have 4 minutes now to discuss on this point. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Mohamedin, Mohamedin.
As far as the VA is concerned, everybody is working from home and correspond via email. But what we, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. You're sounding better now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, firstly, with our VA, it said we are corresponding mostly via email, and what we found is that the act is not so clear, and an architecture professional struggle in interpreting it is not very clear cut. And then as far as CBD is concerned, we do try webinars, but that is in what stage that is. And then as far as revenue is concerned, that is non-existent. There is hardly any revenue coming in, and we're struggling to make ends meet as well. But the COVID-19 affected some of our members as well directly. And how do we respond to that? With membership fees and all that. And then if it, with some members who we, in our group that were dead strike, family members and whatever, it is very, very difficult for these people to survive. And ongoing contracts. Most of the PRs work on ongoing contracts, and they are going to, there is no revenue forthcoming there too, because no one is paying to that. That's it from our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohamedin. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you very much. We're having a very difficult, link or connection on your side. I don't know whether it's affected by the other issues that we've had. I think we've heard some of what you've just said, but I just want to wrap up this point by saying, maybe touching on the issues President Leander mentioned, that the relationship between SACAP, CBE, and Public Works is going on very well. And I think this, by doing this, we're trying to actually pull our VAs together with us so that whenever we have time, we have an opportunity to meet CBE and Public Works, and at least we have some kind of homework, or you have, the VAs have given us some kind of homework, and we understand the issues of common problems that we are facing, and so that we carry all those through. We've had a meeting yesterday with CPE as president of councils, where this issue was mentioned, that we are really struggling as the councils. That is also happening with the councils, not only happening with the VAs as well, but we will report on that. We'll see how it progresses. Colleagues, I don't want to spend too much time on this one now. Let's move on to the next point. I think we might have touched the next point, which is architectural practice. What sort of feedback have you received from architectural practices thus far? Downsizing, closure, flexibility, work from home, status of work, sustainability. I think the issue here has been that, as it was mentioned by President Mphato, that the regulations are not really clear about the professionals, the professional service. We are just lumped into a global, I don't know, kind of workforce where that leaves us with no clear direction as to whether we have to go back to it. But I think maybe to simplify it, what it says is that if you are supporting an essential service, then you should be working. But if you are not supporting an essential service, you shouldn't. In our case, we start work with designs, the planning, and before we go to site. And when we become visible on site, on construction, we've done 75% of work already. So that's where there is a gray area, no clarity. But we've tried, I think, through task team, as President Mphato is saying, and other forums like the President's Forum of the councils, where we had to give inputs into those suggestions, but it seems as if those inputs have not really been affected into the documents, because those documents come back and they don't refer to the professional services. But colleagues, let me hand over to you on this one, and then we can continue and participate on the issues of the practice. How has it been difficult, and how the practices have been affected by this? Because we practice, basically, most of us do practice, or if we don't, we work in an office. Can we get onto that one? The most critical challenges that are facing practices.
Okay, I'll venture again as a practicing architect myself, but also with the benefit of the discussions that we are sharing at higher level, at MANCOM and at board level. I think the challenges are known. The first one is that architectural practice has no longer the comfort or the luxury to have reserves of up to 6 months or something. You know that because of the procurement and cash flow challenges, practices perhaps can survive a month or two. And beyond that, it's hoping that you'll get new work, new appointments, and so on. So the biggest challenge is to sustain the payment of salaries. And when you can't, to actually decide, do you get the people go, or do you find other ways to assist? Do you pay half salaries or whatever? And I think if practices can be assisted, as I said, with the relief packages, to actually know, how these can be accessed, I think this would be great. And I think the other one, which maybe is not being spoken about. The different levels do not talk, for example, to how municipalities, which is a place where by the time we design, you need to be able to submit building plans. And those plans that were submitted before lockdown, there's no clarity whether these can be processed, are being processed, so that when the levels are getting relaxed, some work can continue. So these are all the challenges that are kind of leading to kind of a paralysis. You actually don't know whether that work will ever continue. You have no idea when those approvals will be granted. And there's just no channel of communication to the powers that be to understand whether practices can, those processes of statutory approvals can actually be attended to. And I think the other one is just to make sure that there is a sustainable procurement environment, because we rely largely on government work, and we would hope that a government will understand the crisis, the distress that has been in the industry prior to COVID-19, but also what message is being issued to the private sector, who are not necessarily bound by the guidelines and restrictions of government in terms of procurement and all that. What message is the government sending to the private sector in the industry on how to assist with the resuscitation of the built environment and the building sector as a whole? And I'm speaking on behalf of architects, but fully much aware that our work does involve technologies, does involve the drafting professions, it does involve the interior design professions. They are here to speak for themselves. But most of our work happens at the regions. We start 9 to 11 regions. And we need to be able to communicate this information to our members so that we can send that consistent message. And the last point is that there's been a questionnaire from DPW which wants to document the status of the profession, including members, including unemployed graduates, including people who are just out of employment. Now, our system does not allow for us to capture unemployed professionals. If they are not members, we can't reach them. And maybe it's a wake-up call to us as VAs to say, how do we recalibrate and reorganize ourselves? Young graduates, we only know when they apply in our firms and looking for work, and you can only take so many. So we need to find ways of how to capture that data that is required by government. And we've now undertaken to issue a survey to our members and to the professions in general, the professionals, to say that government wants to know who is unemployed, who doesn't have work, which practices don't have work, and why. But the question is so vague that it's difficult actually to galvanize it into a very clear message to our members. So we need your assistance, SACAP, that we should also understand, what is this information for? Is it to give people work? Is this to start another expanded architects procurement program? Is it going to help change the tender system, for example? We don't know. So I think it would be very important that in our communication with the department, we convey the precarious state of the profession. And yes, we will provide the data as best as we can, but we think also that SACAP or maybe government, the department, can go straight to the public via media and via all available media to say, we are concerned about the state of unemployment in the building industry, in the professions. We would like people to come forward, and this is what we want to do with the information. At the moment, it's not clear. So those are things which I think affect practice, and we as practitioners need to be able to communicate to our staff to say, how are we going to sustain ourselves? Because at the end of the day, what we would like to do and what we've tried to do with our limited means is to keep the jobs that we're offering. And you know, if we have to let people go, it's very difficult because some of the people have worked for us for a long time. Some you'd like to make sure that you don't leave them on the street. And some, you know, if there are opportunities opening up, you'd like to make sure that you keep the people. But we might be left with a situation where practices actually close doors. And this is a big problem.
Can I respond? I'd like to actually say something here, which is maybe not in the right place to say it, but I think it's really, really important if we're thinking about SACAP and we're thinking about what you've just said, Doctor, and I think that's very important. And I want to go back to one of our attendees, Michelle Hoffman, was actually saying that we undervalue ourselves and that we need to actually be very careful that as part of the built environment, and I'm talking about that in general terms. I'm even thinking landscape architecture, although I know they have their own institute, etc. But I think that there's one thing that can come out of this that SACAP can really help with, and that is that we need to actually work together as a team of professionals to look at our environment, to look at why we have this problem in our universities, in our hostels, because all of this is predated to apartheid years. Our RDP housing is not designed to live in, it's designed to be a shelter. We are not looking at the empathy that is required within our communities. And if anybody can do that and look at why we are who we are, we're the problem solvers, we're the creative people that can actually create environments that are conducive to living and to conducive to family and conducive to community. And that's what we need to put together is some kind of a strategy through SACAP to approach the government to say, if you really want to change this country, the built environment has a huge part to play, because if our homes and our communities are not flourishing and are not conducive to distancing, all the things that have come out from this, we need to change that, and we're not changing it. We live in 25 years behind the times, but we should, as a profession and as professional bodies, be moving forward to address these issues and to actually come forward with a strategy. And that might be that we need to have some kind of a seminar, maybe it's a webinar that just talks about where we're going and what we can do as I believe the most important community in this country. So when we talk about essential services, this is essential. We are essential people because we're the ones that can actually change this country. We can change the way that things are being done physically and mentally by being more inclusive and making environments that are conducive to living and improving the quality through our architecture, through our design, through our landscaping, through our community development. And I can go on for half an hour, but I'll stop there. Thank you. Charles, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry, colleagues. This is, as I said, I think this is the beginning and the start of what we need to do. I think for this profession or the sector not to be labeled as essential service, I think it needs us to work hard to try and bring back the importance the sector or the profession used to have before, and we can only do that if we speak with one voice. I mean, this is an attempt to try and foster those platform and forge those platforms so that we can try and speak with one voice, and then we go there. And you know, we are so lucky, let me put it that way, because I've never seen Public Works and CBE so close to as they are now. And I think this is the opportunity that we need to take, and we need to really work together, and let us be proactive. Let us not wait for the disaster to happen. I think what has come out of one of the meetings is that what happens is people approach the ministry and even the minister with a lot of proposals, and then when the minister goes on and maybe attend the meeting, and because there is nothing that comes from the profession, from the industry, the tendency is to take whatever has been tabled on her table and then present that, and then we come back and we complain and say that problematic or are surrounding you know, our profession, our sector, as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. So, colleagues, I think some of the questions there are so obvious that we might think that, you know, we don't have to look into. But the reality is the payment of salaries. You know, I know there has been an issue with the UIF. I just, you know, want to find out, and maybe out there, those of you who have an understanding of what needs to be done to access the UIF and to solve the salary problems that we are experiencing. Because if there is no income, definitely it's going to be very difficult to pay salaries. So if you can just maybe look into those two questions, you know, the payment salaries, the retrenchments, and you know, yeah, and then how successful has government been supportive to the COVID-19, I mean, to these issues? Have the UIF been paid to those who have claimed for it? And yeah, all those issues.
Yeah, Charles, from my side, I know a couple of our members. So yeah, hi Charles, hi Rihanna, and the rest of the panel.
Hi, Thomas.
From the Border Guy side, I know there's been a couple of members that have applied for the UIA. Some, I don't, yeah, not many have received relief there, but there has been applications. But I think what's important is that that's one scheme, and that just covers the salary portion of firms. I think a lot companies only have 2 to 3 months worth of cash flow left to pay salaries, and even such only portions of salaries. I think a critical thing is also to assist firms with covering overheads. There's no schemes in place as such, and it's left to firms to either approach the banks and open up bonds or such. But if there's any support from the government side to assist firms with covering overheads, because it's no use. There's salaries that can be assisted, but yeah, 2-3 months down the line, there's no more cash flow for firms to run operations. I mean, there's software licensing, all sorts of finances to be paid, and unless there's no way to procure new work at this stage. Building sites are closed. There's just, unless a firm has design work in the office or documentation, there's no way for firms to procure new work or to generate income, which is very critical or crisis at this point, I think, for many firms. So if there's ways for for government to assist firms with financial relief, even if it's government bonds at very low interest rates, or some relief scheme in place for professionals that could perhaps assist.
If I may,
yes,
President Ndugu, if I may
yes.
add to that, and I must confess, you'll see many Luyandas on the screen. I was delinquent. I sent my members my invitation because I needed them to be participating in this. So I'll be judged accordingly.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah. So I think that.
Sorry, Mohammed, can you switch off or mute your mic, please? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. I think the issues that have been raised, particularly by my colleague, Ubas, I mean, as practitioners and as businesses, of course, the key component of our existence is being able to have the staff and keep the staff that keeps the business going. And as directors and principals, our task is to ensure that we can access the work, procure the work, that then is the mainstay of the business. So if there is no clarity or improvement in the procurement process, we're not able to access work. That's the first thing. Secondly, when we have that work, if fees are not paid on time, are paid late, by the time they are paid, you have actually spent them. So you can't build reserves. You can't ensure that you've got longevity on your business. And therefore you can't guarantee staff that they'll always be paid full salaries or salaries at all. So now, when you look at practices that are one person led, one woman led, very small practices that they actually operate on the basis of the self-employed professional, maybe having 2 people that assist and who don't have access to all these relief packages. And yes, they shouldn't only cover the salaries. What about rent? What about all the other overheads that we pay? This is where the distress is. This is where the crisis of the industry is, because there's millions of funds which are held in government departments not being distributed for work that has been done. We're not talking about new work, just work that has been done that needs to be paid. And this is not only government departments, your implementing agents, and all the bodies that form part of the built environment. When essential services are being talked about, what is the category of those implementing agents in the whole value chain? Are they included? Are they part of that or not? And these are the things that are really, really making it very, very difficult for the industry to survive. And I can keep repeating that if there can be clarity and assistance that comes from that direction, from public works in particular, we will be speaking of a different industry than we are doing right now.
Thank you very, very much, Leander. Thank you very much. Any other points? I think we've covered this point now. There seems to be a problem with the UIF. But let's keep on, asking questions to those departments that were named, to the companies, the SMEs, to practitioners, to individuals. Yeah, basically, what, because there is current situation, and there's also a post-COVID, 19, where now, we are busy as professionals. Some of us are involved. I'm not involved. Professionals are actually involved in the design of these facilities that are responsive to the COVID-19 challenges, and then the issue of the social distancing, public building, hospitals, in schools, universities, housing projects, and you can name a few. But this is definitely going to affect the way we design the buildings and going forward. And has there been any thoughts as to how are we preparing to contribute as designers to this kind of situation or with this problem? Because going forward, I think we have to, for now, for the current COVID situation and posts, I think we have to be conscious of what we put or what we design. And has there been any maybe suggestion from ourselves, or has there been any proactiveness in as far as the designing of these facilities is concerned? And yeah, I can open that up to you to comment.
How are our procurement processes making it possible for us as professionals to do what we do best, to provide the services that relate to the design of spaces in the different sectors? Now, if such services can only be procured through a tendering system that is never about actually your services, your design capabilities, but it's about the price that you offer. And we all fight about getting the lowest price possible, and people that gets appointed, and becomes a problem because we're now just doing administration. Until those things change and we have a different way of procuring services, we are not providing goods. We're providing some of goods, not of services, so that it makes it difficult. So yes, we've made thoughts. At the moment, yes, COVID-19 is about how to reimagine spaces, whether it is the temporary hospitals or temporary beds. Kids are going to go back to school. How are the schools going to look like? Of course, we can provide our services, but on what basis? How do we even come to say to the department or to the government, yes, we're ready, we're available? How do we do this? Because there is no clear route or channel. We organize ourselves as architects and said we will join the task team, we will communicate with other professions, and we want to respond. And we are offering voluntary services and activities to assist, whether it's with testing facilities, whatever. But these decisions are taken at a higher level and actually never come through to us. DPW is asking for unemployed people, but there's never been something that says, here are some services that we require urgently, here's the procurement process, this is how you're going to be remunerated, and we need people to come forward. Nothing like that has happened. So this communication that we are starting here should hopefully lead to a process whereby we are available to provide services. I'm talking to some engineer colleagues of mine, and we've been sharing the idea of emergency ablution facility designed, already there. We don't know what to do with it. We don't know who to take it to. And we don't know how those services will be paid for, because it's not going via PFMA. It will be an unsolicited bid, maybe, I don't know. So there's a lot of unclarity, gray areas, even with the skills we have. How can we provide them to government so that we are not abused in the process and we are not undervalued for the services that we provide?
Charles, your mic's on mute.
Yeah, sorry, colleague. Yeah, it is very difficult. Thank you, President. It is very difficult, and I think yes, that is why it came from Department of the DDG of Public Works to say that, I mean, even maybe I shouldn't say things that I want to say now, but I think we need to be better organized. I mean, going forward, I think we need to be better organized. We need to get there first, because there are some people who get there first and they get listened to, and they provide solutions that are taken forward, and then we have to chase. And by the time we wake up, the horse has already left the stable. So I think we need to be very proactive. And I think what is important going forward, I think, is to have platforms like this where we come together, we share information, we propose, we put together some proposals going forward. I think the issue of the procurement, that is the issue that we need to deal with it seriously. And I don't understand why, during this COVID-19, the issue of tendering for professional fees has not been suspended. I mean, we have not been given an opportunity to participate to the opportunities in the economy of this country by even getting given a fair chance, because with that kind of procurement, there is no fair chance. It's winner takes all. It might be one person winning everything, 5 times. That is the procurement policy that we are faced with at the moment. So I think it must be a call that comes from us, in this profession and in the sector, to say that, during this COVID-19, government should suspend the tendering for fees. And we should be given an opportunity and equity to the access of opportunity by looking at a roster system or other system that will provide opportunities, in an equitable manner than what it is at the moment. I don't know why nothing has been mentioned. I know for a fact that through task team, the submission was done, and then that was part of their proposals, and then we haven't heard anything to that effect. As I got the information, as Dr. Parker always share it with me, and being part of President's Forum, working with CBE as well. I mean, these are the same issues that we're dealing with at CBE, and it seems as if, I don't know, there seems to be another advisory body that is advising the minister and the public works on the other side, and I think we need to rally behind the council's SVA, and then we push CBE and public works to really to become one force, so that we are looked at serious. At the moment, we are not. Colleagues, I think let's move on. I think the issue of the demand, for architecture at this point in time, the modifications, we hear about these things. We don't know, as President Patrick said, we hear about these things and we don't know who are participating and how are they participating. But I know for a fact that is some of our colleagues, and I have no problem with that. I mean, again, it's the issue of us, getting organized so that we can, speak with one voice and be looked at as a unified group of professionals that are rendering essential service to the government. How can professionals assist government in terms of dealing with the modification? I mean, I know you've mentioned this, and I think we've as SACAP actually we made a submission to Public Works via CBE on this issue of providing services, talking of course on behalf of architectural profession to say, please don't look, anywhere else, just look to the profession to provide, services during this period. And then, we are even prepared to actually render our services free of charge, because this is the time where we have not received even one response to say we acknowledge your request or your input. So is there any knowledge as to how maybe there's, our professionals are getting involved, or our professionals involved in this and all? Is there demand from the government? I know for the fact that Public Works is trying to put up a database, but things are happening out there. These things are taking longer, but people are our colleagues involved.
Then,
yes,
can you hear me, Mr. President?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mr. President, it is not how can the profession assist government. It is more of how the government can allow the profession to assist them.
Yeah.
I think maybe I can just comment here. I think from the profession's point of view, I think we are ready, we are waiting, we're available. We just really at a situation where we need appointments. I think whatever infrastructure is required, and I think there's a very radical regeneration project, sort of project from the government at this stage to really regenerate the entire construction industry. I mean, we really are in dire straits at the moment. We're on the verge of collapse, to be quite honest. And we need to lobby government in the strongest way possible. There needs to be a strategy that comes from the very, very top, right down to the architects on the ground and technologists. And we're ready and waiting. But we need this to be rolled out, and it needs to be rolled out fast. Or we're going to literally see a collapse of the entire construction industry. I mean, we were on the point of collapse prior to this, and I think this has only exacerbated the situation. But I think from our side, we're available, we're ready. We've got capacity. Staff are being laid off daily at the moment. I don't think there's a single architectural practice that is not about to be in a situation where they won't be able to pay their staff going forward. I think the situation is dire, and I think this needs a very radical lobbying of government, in my opinion.
I think the chance is now, because with this crisis that we're in, people are willing, I think the government is willing to listen. And if we look at the economy and the crisis that we're in, and the fact that we actually have so much of the informal sector that are not being able to make a contribution because of the lockdown, they're suddenly realizing that, hey, you know, this is a new economy, it's a new world, it's a new Africa. What are we going to do? And they'll be ready to listen. And I think the opportunity, we need to grab that now with both hands and really move forward so that we can put our voice out there and be heard. And that really is the bottom line. We need to actually get a task force going as fast as possible from the ground all the way up to the top. But I think, and I totally agree with that, we need to work together completely, and we need to do it very quickly.
Thank you, Bob.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yes, Mama? Hello, Mr. President?
Yeah. I'm listening, Mohammed. Yes.
Mr. President, with chats like this, we should involve government as well. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And we thought through CBE and the President's Forum, we were engaging, and then the task team. And at least there has been some kind of synergy between the President's Forum and the task team to work together. And you know, the task team, you know, is actually comprised of lots of VAs, which is good, because those it is fully representative of of our profession. I think we should try and really work together and so that we can avoid a situation where we are pitted against each other, because that is the strategy or what is happening out there, that we, you know, get into a competition amongst ourselves. And I think that we should not allow that to happen, because that's where, you know, we are pushed to our weakest point by you know, being pitted against each other. That's what is happening at the moment. So if we can really try and together, I'll take your President Parker.
Okay, thank you, President. I want to make a few concrete suggestions as to perhaps what we could do. But before I do that, I have to perhaps flag the fact that COVID-19 is not only impacting negatively in South Africa, it's impacting negatively internationally. When one follows the international scene, even if you look at associations of architects, even in the continent of Africa, there have been calls for professionals, architects to come forward and respond to the various calls by their mother bodies, whether it's the African Union of Architects or International Union of Architects, UIA. And bodies are doing that, being supported by their governments, who are engaging them in utilizing their services as professionals to look at the various facilities that are required. Now, in South Africa, one of the UIA initiatives attracted about 100 volunteers who were of architects, who were willing to utilize their services as best as they can. But from a government perspective, coming back to what colleague Mohammed has just said, it's not about, it's really about how does government allow us to be able to practice and provide our services, even on a volunteer basis. So I think that maybe public works together with the other departments, because we must not forget, public works is our body that, from a gazette point of view, we fall under. But work from government comes from human settlements. I'm doing work for human settlements right now. It's nothing to do with public works. Work is done by health insofar as COVID is concerned. Is there coordination from government to kind of say that how can we tap in all these services that are there, professionals? So even when we volunteer and say we are there as volunteers, there doesn't seem to be a proper platform where we can actually bring these services forward. And we're not waiting and saying we're waiting for government to give us work, but we also have some voluntary because of the COVID-19 situation. But beyond that, my suggestion is we should urgently set up a strategy that is going to involve all the professional bodies. For example, the CBE has got 6 councils: architects, project managers, quantity surveyors, property valuers, I think landscape, and the 6th one is, I don't know. But other professions like land surveyors, EIA professionals, and all the other which are now falling under DEA or DEFF as it is now. The others are falling under forest and fishery. Planners are falling somewhere else. We are also fragmented like that. So there is no real body that brings these together, all of us. We only talk to the 6 which are under CBE, but we're leaving out a lot of our colleagues who are also in the professions. So we should engage with government in terms of galvanizing the professional body to actually speak as one. And then we should then map out what are the proper and suitable procurement policies. We don't even need to talk about Treasury because they are the ones who are determining how we are procured. But I don't know if they really have professionals in the built environment sitting there and saying, no, but this doesn't work in that industry. How can this be improved? So from this communication, SACAP should be making those avenues open. And we as SAIA in particular are very much willing to assist and be part of that process and be part of that strategy. And you are aware, President Ndugu, I write to you about all these challenges and issues, but we do not have a proper channel of how to actually take them forward. And I think the development of a built environment cluster also needs to be developed so that the departments can coordinate among themselves. It's not only public works only. They are perhaps the key body that should be running all property-related business. There's talk from DPW that they want us to assist them to convert buildings so that we can provide affordable housing or provide COVID relief and stuff. How is that going to work? How is that going to be procured? Which buildings are going to be identified? How are they going to be identified? And what process is going to be followed to say, okay, these are the buildings that we want to consider for this. Architects, can you advise us? Does this building suit this or not? But even that is not happening. So it is very, very difficult, therefore, to say how can we assist the government when there are no processes that allow us to assist government. And this is what I think we need to work towards, to say, we are your professionals, we've been trained here, we are working here, and we're actually the ones that want to absorb the young professionals. As a business, looking at my own business, it is very difficult to absorb young professionals knowing how many are out there and to be able to give them an opportunity to develop and be trained. But we do it at our own cost. But when there's no security that the work is coming forward, you actually say, okay, I'll take 1 or 2. But our industry cannot absorb the young graduates that are coming out of varsity because the procurement environment doesn't allow that to happen. And then the other thing that we need to do is to engage closer with the universities. You are aware that a lot of graduates are coming out of university, and we need to engage with the universities themselves in terms of saying, how do you provide for employment opportunities for your young graduates as they go up? And we as SAIA, we also have a weakness that we actually have no program that actually speaks to the young professionals at university. And in my organization, SAIA, I've been saying openly, when I look at our colleagues, quantity surveyors, engineers, they all have got student chapters. And only now at SAIA, we're talking about something like that. Young students at university don't know the SAIA. They don't know about professional issues. And we don't have a proper angle to deal with that, so that we only deal with students when we do competitions and awards and stuff like that. But we do not have a systematic process of a skills pipeline that we can actually say we're promoting. So I'm also saying that we should look at ourselves as well and say, we've got shortcomings here. How do we capture young professionals? How do we make them sensitive to the existence of professional bodies, not only when they're finished, when they're looking for work, and we want them to join so that they can be paid members. So we also have got our own homework to do.
Thank you, President Mpata. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I think we have covered the issues under the COVID, and now I just want us to prepare, to start wrapping up. But before we wrap up, I just want to report to you that we eventually had some good news yesterday. We had a meeting with CBE as the councils, and we've had discussions with CBEs about the ITW and also the publication of the fees. We all know. Let me start with the fees, because those ones are very important, and then we've been stuck in those two, and those are the areas that have been really crippling the performance of SACAP in as far as the mandate is concerned. Not because of the SACAP's making, but because of the other surrounding issues that, like the body, like Competitions Commission. So what has happened? Since the fourth term council, we have had discussions with the CBE about the issue of publishing the fees, because we have to publish the fees as per we are mandated, or we are, the act requires us to do that. So it does not mention any name of the Competitions Commission. And we've been discussing this with the CBE, and yesterday CBE agreed that we should publish. And in fact, as SACAP, we did not want any approval of CBE to do that, because we had already decided to actually do that. We finished our fee proposal, I think, early this year, and we just consulted. We consulted Competitions Commission, and then they've asked us to make submissions, ITOW, and also the fees, and then they were going to come back to us in a month's time. A month's time should have ended at the end of February. Till today, they haven't come back to us. But now, I think I want to announce today that we want to consult with you in as far as the fees are concerned. We will be communicating or probably forwarding the documentation around the fees before the end of this month. And depending how long that process is going to take, we would love to publish fees as early as next month. Because that will definitely help us and then alleviate the problem that we are facing currently now, because without the fees that are fee guideline in place, our situation is even more difficult. So CBE seem to have, as I'm saying, the relationship with CBE and public works have improved drastically, and I think I can see positive energy coming, through, and I think we should embrace that opportunity and really make ourselves available to assist even CBE, because there has been an attempt by CIDB to encroach onto the space of professionals, the professional bodies, and which is supposed to be, taken over by CBE. So I know our feelings about CBE, public works, and I think all I want to plead to you is to all of us to try and work together, because I can see now that, if we work together with CBE and public works, I think our issues will be listened to as a profession, because in the past we had problems with public works, we had problems with CBE, and at least now we are in the same room, we are in agreement. So we should take opportunity, you should take this opportunity to send our issues straight, and they are more than willing to really work with us, and I think it just needs us as a profession to work together. And as I said, the fees are ready to go, and the ITOW as well, because we consulted, and there is a sense that the ITOW, I think the ITOW even and professionals fee guideline with the other councils, I think we are one of the 2 or 3 which is ready to publish, because CBE asked us to publish. So, but we just want to consult with you first before we do that. So you can expect that that communication soon. And as I'm saying, that even with other issues that are important to us as a profession, I think we need to be put together, and the issues of procurement. That one is very important. I think that's where our problem is. If we can solve that problem of the procurement, it needs us to work together. Let's come up with a proposal. Let's submit. There are forums that have been established by CBE and public works, to actually recognize that there is a problem as far as the tendering process is concerned, and that the possibility of going back to a roster is being discussed at the moment. And then let us take advantage of that opportunity. And I want to ask you, as the presidents of the VAs, to go out there and probably think with the members and discuss with the members what sort of procurement that we should be proposing going forward. But the momentum is moving to that direction, and let's take advantage of that. And if it comes from us as a profession, I think we should be listened to. I think the issue of nothing for us without us, it should also apply to us as well, because it has happened in the past where decisions of procurement of importance are taken on our behalf, and they are impacting negatively on ourselves and as a profession. So I just wanted to wrap up by just giving you that information. In as far as the fees, we are about to publish, we will consult with you, because the Act allows us to do that, propels us to do that, and even ITOW. ITOW, we've already consulted with you, and but yeah, I'm just going to open up the floor and so that we can wrap up. Okay, Dr. Liani.
Thanks, President Buku. I think if one reads the chats that are happening at the bottom of our screen, it's quite important that we listen to, you know, the membership as they are commenting on things. And I've picked up a few which I think are important. And this could be part of our action plan going forward. I mean, COVID-19 is going to be with us for a while. We know that in South Africa, we're told our peak will come in September. I mean, I don't even know how people determine these things. But one thing is clear is that we're not going to have a normal environment, even if there's a procurement process where you fill in 100 pages of tender documents, you've got to go run at 5 to 12 to drop them in some tender box somewhere. It's not going to happen like that. So one of the key things is what supply chain management and procurement processes are now going to be considered, given the fact that everything is virtual, everything is happening, you know, online. There has to be thought on that. And I think as part of maybe the other task team is an industry task team. We need to have a professional task team that is going to look at these processes and advise accordingly so that we can play the role that we need to play to say, government, this is how you can assist, and this is what we are putting forward as examples. So that is the one thing I picked up, which I think someone mentioned in the group. The other one, the risk levels. Look at the reopening of the industry from a public sector point of view, but it does not look at the private sector. For instance, residential buildings, and those are only coming through in level 2 and all that. How can we even consider that for those projects to happen? There's some stuff that needs to happen now. I mean, if you open private residential projects only in level 2, and at the same time, you are not opening up municipalities to process building plans now, you're actually not winning anything. So I think we need to also impress upon government that our practices, one, mostly are office-based. 60% of our members have got less than 10 people that actually form a business. We did a survey as architects. 60% are 1 to 2 person practices, up to 4. And 20% of our membership are practices from 9 to 15 or something like that. Now, these 60% are doing, yes, public work maybe, but are also doing a lot of residential projects, small projects. And there seems to be no rationale for me for practices less than 10 not to be able to resume work. If you read the guidelines from labor, they give specific guidelines for practices of less than 10 people, which are manageable. I've gone back to work myself because the projects I'm working on falls under the level 4. And we've not called back all the 10 people that I'm employing, but the first we called 5 so that we can, you know, be able to discharge the services that are required, because you need to fulfill certain guidelines in order to be able to operate. So why can't this be made more clear so that professionals know that if they fall within a certain threshold, 10 people or less, they should be able to operate within the guidelines that have been actually put forward. And then maybe as the stages go, then the kind of phase where it starts impacting on businesses with more people and all this. This would bring a lot of help to our members, because not all of them have got 20, 30, 40 people. And this is not to say our members, and our practice members who've got more numbers should not be considered also. But at the same time, we need to accept that it's a phased process. And perhaps they might fall into the category of level 4 or whatever, I don't know. But I'm just saying that there has to be some small wins that we try and convince and convey to government to say that we are the masters of space. We know social distancing and we can manage it. So, there has to be a recognition of that fact as well. So I'm just pleading, President Dugu, that let us use the channels that we have and strengthen the voice of the professionals and bring that voice to the powers that be through whatever channels. And we should coordinate with other bodies so that it's not just about architects. In any case, are seen as prima donnas. We are the prima donnas, everything. So we need to work with other with other councils and other professions so that we become part of this, big movement to secure our position in society. Because we all know problems of South Africa is spatial disparity, problems of spatial inequality, problems of spatial fragmentation. And we, the people that can contribute in changing that, but we are in the background. We are not even taken seriously by anybody. And I think this message needs to come across that critical sector, and we need to be considered as such.
Thank you very much, President Patwa. Colleagues, we are now going to be closing down. Any parting shots to any of the participants before we close down? On my side, it has been wonderful engagement, and it's our first time. I know there will always be teething problems when we engage in the first time. I was busy reading the comments, and a lot of participants were unable to come in because I think the webinar only allowed 100 people. And it has been a good response, and I think we will definitely do this again going forward. And yeah, I can say that, on our side as SACAP, we really, really want to see or regulate a profession which is sustainable, and it is our concern to see the profession sustainable. Otherwise, we won't be what we will regulate if the profession is not sustainable. And we all understand, the issues that are facing our professionals and our profession. And I think it is the time to actually work together to try and solve these issues. And as President Mpava said, yeah, there are other categories that really want to come in and be part of this profession. And I think we will communicate, and we will let you know, and that when those eventually come through. But what is important is we have to work together, and we have few numbers compared to the engineers, and they really using the critical mass. And I think we just need to lift our socks and actually up our game and focus on what is good for us, rather than focusing on what we're doing wrong. Yes, we are not perfect. I think we are not perfect. We will never get 100%. But I'm just pleading to all of you, including us, to just focus on just working together to solve the problems that are facing us as a profession. I just wanted to close on that, but maybe I can give, I've got 10 minutes, just maybe to give each of you 2 minutes, just to say a few words.
Can I go ahead, President?
Yes, bro.
I think that what's interesting for me in this lockdown and what has changed in terms of design and in terms of architecture, and it's exactly what the doctor said just now, is that we have suddenly found that we are confined to an office at home, and that changes our environment completely. And we need to actually take cognizance of the fact that we need to redesign and relook at all our interior spaces because they're going to change dramatically. And I think that we can't do this in isolation. I think we need to be working with all the professionals, even the engineers. And I completely agree with everything that's been set up to now. I think that just as a group of, as I keep on saying, creatives, the people that can make the changes, we are all here. And it might be a small community, but it's a very powerful community in the fact that we understand empathy, we understand our end users, we understand what we need to achieve in schools, in business, in everywhere to actually change the world that we've lived in to something that we can go forward with as a united South Africa through using our creative skills to create that environment. And unless we do that, I think we've failed. And I don't believe that we can fail. I think we've got enough manpower and brain power and woman power in this environment to really make a difference, make a change. And if the government doesn't listen to those kind of words, then, then it's not our fault.
Thank you, Prof. Sorry, thank you. Colleagues, anyone? Oh, yes, Cobus. Cobus, yeah?
Let me just unmute. Charles, just I think just in closing from our side, I think on the, if one looks at the task team's whole medium-term strategy, it's a very very good document that's been put together in lots of hours that's been discussed. And I think proposals on the table, it addresses procurement, it addresses the fee, the problems with the fee, the whole addresses where the industry was prior to COVID and the situation we were at. And I think this has been addressed to the Patricia Delille at top level. But I think maybe from SACAP side, I know from SIA it's been distributed between members, but perhaps just to inform the SACAP members as well. Maybe they need to get access to that document as well. But where the channels that you as SACAP have already in place with DPW is perhaps a very perhaps another channel to address this through. I believe they haven't had much response back from submitting the report last week. So perhaps that's an avenue where we can stand together as professionals and put that strategy forward. But perhaps they would understand that just going with a top-down approach. But yeah, that's just a proposal, perhaps that we call upon SACAP to engage or to assist with getting that report noticed.
Thank you, Cobus. Thank you very much. It's appreciated. Yes, President Bach.
Thank you. I think as we're wrapping up, maybe there are just a few other issues that maybe we can bring to the fore. I'm taking full cognizance of the fact that this is the opportunity or the first opportunity we have where we can, address these issues in a forum like this, especially where our membership and the rest of those who have access to Facebook have been able to listen and watch. And I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've not addressed everything that is critical in our industry. And I think, as you titled the webinar, Impact of the COVID-19 on our businesses, we focused on that, but we're aware that there are a lot of other issues that we've not adequately addressed. One of them is the skills pipeline and looking at young graduates and how we can connect to them. It's a longer-term strategy we need to develop. We've not addressed issues that are bogging the industry. And if I can highlight a few issues, even in the task team which I'm part of, the issues of transformation are coming before there, because that is a forum that includes also the businesses that represent Black professionals. SACAP is in there. The Black property owners are in the task team, and they're voicing their frustrations that the industry has been close to them. And therefore the task team is actually the first opportunity for them to sit down with people that they actually have been fighting to get recognition from. And I think as a typical South African body, we're going to be faced with those issues. And our industry is not foreign to that. We've got similar problems. Gender issues are a big problem in our industry. So to the members who are saying we've not addressed everything here, I think we should see this as the initial spark of a broader discussion that we should find ways to take forward. And I'm saying, from a SIA perspective, we are putting our hand up to say we are doing what we can to improve the conditions in our industry for our members. We're doing the best we can to make sure that we remain relevant to the industry, and that we're praying that our members continue to pay membership fees so that we can be able to, I mean, we're not being paid for what we do, but we need the funds in order for the organization to remain relevant and meet with people and so on. So I don't think a platform like this can resolve everything, which is a challenge in the industry. But if we can set up an effective task team, an effective body that can engage and be listened to and have a proper channel of communication with government, they've gone a long way to address some of the challenges, of which procurement is one of the key ones. How do we procure services? So I just feel that the professions and the professional body do not have the standing in society which they actually deserve. And we need to find a way to break that and make our government recognize how important these professions are, especially to deal with the spatial inequities that our cities are dogged with in our societies. Government is talking about de-densifying informal settlements. There's no plan how to do it. And we, as the professionals that can provide that service, are there to be able to advise. We're working with those communities. So all these things are not quick fixes, but it's opportunities we could have to bring many of the unemployed professionals on board, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But we're sitting here and saying our professionals are unemployed. It's just mind-boggling. So we need to put that message across that we are available and we can mobilize resources. I don't even want to talk about the fact that the CETA program of government in construction is totally irrelevant and unsupportive of the architecture industry. We don't even have a CETA division that actually can deal with the fact that we can absorb a lot of the young graduates if there is a kind of a stipend that the government can make available. But administratively, it's not possible, it's not working. Why? In other sectors it is, but in the sector of building it's not working. So there are so many things we could address, but I think the issues of transformation, gender, skills pipeline are subjects in themselves, and we can't just summarize them in one sentence.
Thank you very much, President Pato. Thank you very much. Colleagues, let me wrap up now. Let me thank everyone who really attended or made herself or himself available for this webinar. This is the start, as I said, and this is the platform that we should utilize to address our problems going forward. And I've listened to the comments by the members, by the participants who are not necessarily in the panel. We will address those, and I think the issue of the recording, I think that will be posted, should be posted on SACAP's website to be available for the members. And the other issues that we were unable, there's no way that we will be able to cover all the issues that are important to us. And I know that we have more important issues and pressing issues that are urgent that we need to address. But I think as SACAP, what we will do, we will probably send out a communication and ask for topics that needs to be discussed, and maybe gather again in this fashion to address these issues. But I think this is the start of the engagement going forward, and it's not, we won't be able to address everything today. I just want to close in those words, and thank you those who have participated by listening on Twitter and other media platforms that were made available for them to listen. The start can only get better. Thank you very much for everyone. Do you want to say something? Or you talking to someone?
Sorry?
Hello?
I just wanted to add, we as architects, we don't work in isolation. So for us, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So for us to actually be able to work, whether it's from home or whether we go back to the office, we really depend on a lot of other stakeholders to also be active. And one of our crucial stakeholders would be our city councils. And I would just also like to add that this is, you know, in some areas of the country, city councils have remained operational, and in others they've closed down completely, and there's no movement on any projects, even the ones that were submitted before the lockdown. So I just think that that's also one of the things we need to look at, how we can help the industry by making sure that our councils get more updated in terms of technology, so that people working at councils can actually work from home, and that we can get electronic submissions throughout the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isha, for your contribution. Thank you very much. Yeah, as I said, we will invite those topics from you colleagues from SACAP side to form part of the discussion for the next session. Once again, thank you very much for attending this. It was a short notice, and I can only say that it has been successful, because I think we've started and we've ended now. These are the issues that we've recorded, all of these issues, and we're going to